The Kardashians, and by extension the Jenners, are one of the most famous families on the planet, and they're perfectly okay with that. To the extent that they know they're famous, they want to be famous, and they love that they're famous. It's almost like a sickness for them. But to be fair, they do love their children, and especially for the newer parts of the crew, they have rules for them to follow as they grow up. Allow us to tell you some of them. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 6. The kids will have jobs one day. Let's start off with the rule that Kim Kardashian has in place for her now 4 children. Mainly, no matter what happens with the family and their fortunes, the kids will all have to do work one day. You would think that Kim and Kanye wouldn't want their kids to get jobs, especially since their combined fortunes, which is actually rather substantial, is more than enough to take care of the whole family for a lifetime, and arguably the lifetime of all the kids and their kids should they have them. But this was a rare moment of humility for Kim K, as she noted that when she was young, she too had to work for what she wanted to get despite her own fortune and popularity with the Kardashian name. So yeah, the kids will have to work. Now sure, it'll probably be a lot easier for them to get jobs because of their family and connections. Isn't that right, Kylie? But it's good to see that they won't be like many rich kids who simply live off their family wealth. Number 5. Body types and preventing them. If we can be honest here, one of the reasons that the Kardashian and Jenner clans are so famous and infamous is because they go to great lengths in order to ensure that their bodies and their appearances are always spot on. And this goes beyond makeup and dresses. They monitor their weight really well so they can look near perfect, which also apparently applies to their children. Because some of them are so focused on their kids not ever getting fat that they're not allowed to say fat. No, really. Kourtney Kardashian once told her mother Kris to not say that word in front of her kids, which is nice, but also something she won't be able to fully control later on. Furthermore, the parents monitor what the kids eat, and sugar is very limited in their diets. Kourtney revealed on her website, "I always try to avoid sugar. First, sugar is addictive, and I notice that after I eat it, I need it. Sugar doesn't sustain you when you actually need energy, like for a workout. Also, when I eat sugar, I find that more cellulite appears." So yeah, for better or for worse, the Kardashians are trying to make sure their kids are as perfect, look-wise, as they are. Heaven help us all. Number 4. Keeping children safe from certain things. Regardless of whether you're rich or not as a parent, you have to be very careful about what your child does when they're in the house, because they are known to wander. And when they do that, things can get ugly, very ugly at times. This is something that apparently bothers Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. So they decided that instead of just watching them as they play around the living room and such, they just built them a dedicated playroom that they could roam in and thus not have any fears of them climbing on things like furniture and then falling off when they're not looking. And according to her, this works. They play themselves to exhaustion or so in that playroom, and then when they come out, they're all tired out, and thus Kim and Kanye don't have to worry about them doing too much. Granted, not every parent will be able to make this technique work in their own home, but it's a clever trick. Number 3. How to protect your children. While we do love to drag the Kardashians and the Jenners at times because of how they act, their fame does bring a lot of problems and attentions that they don't want. Such as when Kim Kardashian was robbed in Paris, and she was literally tied to a chair as she was robbed. Thankfully, her children weren't around them. But it made her freak out so much that she decided to get extra security to the extent that she hired people to watch out for each kid. An insider told Page 6, "The kids being kidnapped is Kim's biggest fear. She previously didn't want to shell out for armed security, but now she realizes the family needs 24-hour protection." Aaron Jackson, the president of Finest Execution Protection, told E! News the price for such tight security can cost as much as $100,000 a day. Granted, Kim K is worth hundreds of millions, so she can afford it, and obviously, she doesn't do the full 24-hour sessions, but she could if she wanted to. Plus, if that's what it takes to give her peace of mind about her children's safety, can you blame her for going that far? Number 2. Where to live when your family is famous. You often hear about the lavish and luxurious mansions that people like the Kardashians have, and for good reason, because they absolutely live like royalty. But you'll also find that these celebrities are known for valuing their privacy. Thus, the Kardashian and the Jenners live in a place in California known as Hidden Hills, which is an apt name as it's a gated community. You see, it's one that houses many celebrities across all walks of life, and thus, to get in, you need an invitation. Or you obviously have to live there. And one time, Kylie Jenner couldn't get in immediately because the guard at the gate didn't realize he was talking to the Kylie Jenner. Awkward. Adding to that, if the kids want to leave the gated community, they need to have their parents and their bodyguards. So thus, they're kept on a very short leash. But again, it's for their safety, so thus, you can understand why they do that. Number 1. Outfits. This one isn't so much a rule as a requirement, because as Kim K, Kylie, and all the rest will happily note, their kids aren't just kids, they're symbols. Fashion symbols, that is. Because when these families go out into the world, there are expectations as to how they're going to look, and the children have to model that as well. Thus, they'll only wear the finest brands of outfits when in public, and sometimes have custom items made for them for things like galas and parties. Because for these kids to not look great in public apparently breaks the greatest law of all in this clan, the laws of fashion. So there you have it, a look at the Kardashian and Jenner children and the various rules they have to follow to be with the family and stay safe. Were you surprised by some of these rules? Which ones do you feel are the least fair? Or do you think they're all perfectly reasonable? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.